What is up, everybody? My name is Famous. Welcome to another episode of Pokemon Go. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about the top 10 Pokemon worth trading in Pokemon Go. And this is going to be the non-special trade edition. Because of some of the rules that were set up for it, I think it's time we go ahead and talk a little bit about it. So what is a special trade? This is going to be for Pokemon that are legendary, shiny, or Pokemon that you currently do not have in your Pokédex. So why would you not want to necessarily do just a special trade? Well, if you were to check out some of the screenshots that they sent out to us, 1 million Stardust to be able to trade between a friend of yours just for a legendary Pokemon, that's way too much. And yes, with the better friend results, you can get it down significantly, but it's going to take an extremely long amount of time to be able to get to the point where it is worth trading a legendary. So I thought, hey, why not? Let's go ahead and talk about 10 Pokemon that people might not think about. And there's going to be 3 main categories. The first one is going to be Pokemon with legacy movesets. This is something that's going to be highly desirable because in certain cases, these Pokemon have movesets that are not attainable and they are actually better than anything that is currently available for them. The second set of Pokemon is going to be related to specific moves. You could call Community Day, for instance, one of them. That's going to be an exclusive moveset Pokemon. With this moveset, it's not only rare, but it also dominates. And then the third category is going to be Pokemon that are going to be the best of their type from an attacking perspective, but because they don't fall into a legendary or even a shiny standpoint, that means you don't have to use a special trait to get them, meaning that they're going to be extremely cheap from a Stardust perspective. If you do enjoy this type of content and it is helpful to you, be sure to like and subscribe. But without further ado, let's get into the list. When we go throughout this list, know that I do have it ordered by CP. It's not going to be by any preference of my own. So let's go ahead and get into the number 10 spot. We have Gengar with a max CP of 2,619. Gengar is a dual type Pokemon of Ghost and then also Poison type. If we take a look at the stats briefly, its best stat is going to be its attack stat, ranking out at 10th overall in Pokemon Go, so very impressive. So you might be asking yourself, well, okay, yeah, Gengar's great, but what would be another reason why I would want a specific Gengar? And that's going to be related to a legacy move. So Gengar has a legacy move called Shadow Claw that is no longer obtainable. Now you can only get Hex. That's going to be another ghost type quick move. But guess what? Shadow Claw actually performs better than Hex does. So this is a case where you have a Pokemon that has a legacy moveset that actually performs better than any move available for it from the same type perspective. This is going to be a highly desirable Pokemon from a lot of hardcore trainers and a Pokemon that you could actually get for cheap from a Stardust perspective. In the trades, you just have to be able to find someone who has one. Let's go ahead and move into the number 9 spot. We have Alakazam with a max CP of 2,887. Alakazam is a pure psychic type Pokemon. Let's go ahead and take a look at the stats. From a stat perspective, go ahead and check out that attack stat. At 271, giving it a rank of 5th place. Basically, Alakazam's kind of on this list for 2 different reasons. One, it actually does incredibly well as a psychic type. Maybe the only one outperforming it at this point is going to be Mewtwo. So at least from that standpoint, it's definitely incredible. But I also want to point out something else, and it is going to be related to, yet again, a legacy move. If you look at the bottom of the screen, we have the legacy move Dazzling Gleam. This is a fairy type move. This is kind of one of the first pseudo fairy types that were put into the game that could actually attack well. Now something like Gardevoir is basically taking on that name, but Alakazam could actually be one of those options. With such a high attack stat, it would actually perform well, and with it being a double bar charge move, Alakazam could actually defend itself well if you were to leave it in a gym. So I definitely felt like this was worth mentioning. It is definitely going to be on the rare side, but if you end up meeting anyone who has a Dazzling Gleam Alakazam, they are definitely going to back up the idea that this is a Pokemon that you would want to have. Let's go ahead and move into the number 8 spot. We have Charizard with a max CP of 2,686. Charizard is a dual type Pokemon of fire and then also flying type. If we take a look at the stats, its best stat is going to be its attack stat at 223, ranking out at 40th. This is going to be a bit of a little trivia section to it. Charizard and Typhlosion have the exact same stats, just a different moveset and then a different typing for Charizard as well. So why would you want to have a Charizard? This is going to be the first Pokemon on our list that has an exclusive move coming from Community Day. Let's go ahead and pull this up. We have Fire Spin and then Blast Burn. So Blast Burn is going to be the exclusive move from Community Day. And I can promise you, a lot of people are going to have this available. Sure, it's not a shiny, but in a lot of ways, this is going to make it better because you're not going to have to pay extra Stardust just to get a shiny Charizard. If you actually care about performance, this would be the way to go in a non-shiny form. But not only that, Charizard is actually going to be the best non-legendary fire attacker in the game, which is definitely a reason why you would want to have it. Let's go ahead and move up further on the list. We have Omastar with a max CP of 2,685. Omastar is a dual type Pokemon of rock and then also water type. Let's go ahead and take a look at the stats. So Omastar is going to be the first Pokemon on this list that has its best stat as its defense, ranking out at 33rd. So why would you want to trade for an Omastar? Well, this is going to be the first Pokemon on the list with a double legacy move that is desirable, and that's going to be Rock Throw and Rock Slide. This is something that a lot of people haven't really heard of unless you've been playing the game for a very long time. Omastar actually would perform better than Golem, but in a lot of cases, a lot of websites just basically omit it because you would need to have a double legacy moveset. But I can promise you that people do have this some way, somehow, and if you don't believe me, if you want to see how well Omastar performs, if we were to go against a Charizard in a raid, you would see that Omastar actually outperforms Golem, and it's by quite a bit as well. Although it isn't going to outperform Tyranitar, I would honestly say that this is a solid option that a lot of people aren't going to think about, but you're also going to be able to save a lot of Stardust on. It's time to move up further on the list. We definitely have an exciting Pokemon to talk about, and that's Venusaur with a max CP of 2,568. Venusaur is a dual type Pokemon of grass and then also poison type. When we take a look at the stats, its stats don't seem to be that incredible. Unfortunately for it, it's not that great, but it does have a moveset that does redeem it. We have yet again another Pokemon with a Community Day exclusive move, and that's going to be Frenzy Plant. So here's something really cool about this. Unlike Charizard, Venusaur is actually the best grass type attacker. So Charizard came up short behind legendaries, but there are not any legendaries or mythicals ahead of Venusaur from a grass type perspective. So in my mind, this is going to make it more valuable, and not only that, there's going to be a lot of people who actually have this and probably don't care about it as much, especially if it's not a shiny version. So this is going to be a Pokemon that you can definitely grab. It's not going to cost as much Stardust, and I think that it's going to be actually pretty plentiful. Let's go ahead and move on to the next Pokemon. We have Machamp with a max CP of 2,889. Machamp is a pure fighting type Pokemon. When we take a look at the stats, go ahead and check out that attack stat, ranking out at 30th place. For this Pokemon, this is going to be because this Pokemon is absolutely dominant from a fighting type perspective. This is going to be a Pokemon that, because it isn't going to fall into the special trade, you are actually going to be able to get for pretty cheap, and I think a lot of people would be willing to trade a Machamp. More than likely it's because they have quite a bit of them. So from a move type perspective, not going to lie, oh my gosh, Machamp has so many legacy moves, but fortunately, the best moveset is going to be Counter and Dynamic Punch, which is available in the game at this point in time, which is incredible. So not only would you be able to trade for a Machamp, you don't necessarily have to trade for a Counter Dynamic Punch Machamp, you could just use TMs. So maybe someone doesn't have TMs, doesn't want to use it, they have something like a Heavy Slam or a non-ideal moveset, they're just willing to get rid of it for cheap. Hopefully that won't cost too much, but I do think that Machamp is going to be a great option. Up next on the list, we have a Generation 3 Pokemon, and that is Gardevoir with a max CP of 2,964. Gardevoir is a dual-type Pokemon of Psychic and then also Fairy type. Let's go ahead and take a look at the stats. So its best stat is going to be its attack stat at 237, ranking out at 25. So why would you want to have a Gardevoir? So Gardevoir is going to be the best fairy type attacker in the game. It is a great counter to dragon types. the ideal moveset would be Confusion and Dazzling Gleam. But there is some good news in all of this, is that all of these moves are still available for Gardevoir. So you just need a decent IV version that you can TM to get to this ideal moveset. But here's something really cool kind of looking into the future, and that's going to be, if you have a male or female Kirlia, it might be smart to actually trade for that instead of a Gardevoir, because if it becomes available on Community Day, it is believed that for Community Day, Gardevoir would actually gain the first Fairy type move in the game. So if you have a Kirlia, male or female, at this point you would be able to evolve it to a Gardevoir on its Community Day, which would be very exciting. But even beyond that, just as kind of like another option, you could get a male Kirlia and then evolve it into a Gallade once Generation 4 comes out. This is going to be something that a lot of people aren't really thinking about at this point, but if you can get ahead of the game, if you are watching this video, you can actually be prepared for Generation 4. You will be able to get this Pokemon for very cheap. Since it's not a final evolution, I would imagine that it's going to cost even less than something like a Gardevoir. Let's go ahead and move up on this list. We have Gyarados with a max CP of 3,281. Gyarados is a dual-type Pokemon of water and then also flying type. When we take a look at the stats, the best stat is going to be its attack stat at 237, ranking out at 25th. So why would you want to have a Gyarados? Well, recently we had the move Waterfall added to Gyarados, meaning that it does officially have a double stab move from the water type perspective. Gyarados is actually the second best water type attacker, just behind Kyogre, which is no small feat. Gyarados is actually a very good Pokemon, and with the fact that it does cost 400 Magikarp candy to be able to evolve to Gyarados, it's going to save you a lot of time, a lot of candy, and then trading would also be worth it because this Pokemon is actually very good. So I did think that this Pokemon was worth mentioning. Also, you could get some legacy moves out of this Pokemon as well. For instance, with something like an Outrage, a Dragon Tail, a lot of dragon moves, honestly. There is another one called Twister that really isn't good at all, but you could also get legacy movesets out of this as well. So I figured Gyarados was definitely worth mentioning. Let's go ahead and move into the number 2 spot. We have Dragonite with a max CP of 3,581. Dragonite is a dual-type Pokemon of Dragon and then also Flying type. When we take a look at the stats, its best stat is going to be its attack stat at 263, ranking out at 9th. But as you will see, its overall ranking is 7th because this Pokemon is so well-rounded. And that's actually why we put it on the list. Although it isn't going to be the best Dragon-type attacker, that for instance would be Rayquaza, Dragonite is a solid option. You can actually do a lot with it. So the best moveset that you want to have is going to be Dragon Tail and then Outrage. If you are looking for a little bit rarer of a Dragonite, a Draco Meteor would be the moveset that you would want because it was exclusive from a Community Day. But either way, I felt like a lot of people won't think about Dragonite as much, and in doing so, it's also going to fall out of that special request for the trades, so it's going to be fairly cheap from a Stardust perspective, and it's actually going to be useful. So what is the number 1 Pokemon that you would want to trade in Pokemon Go? That is Tyranitar with a max CP of 3,670. Tyranitar is a dual-type Pokemon of Rock and then also Dark-type. When we take a look at the stats, you are going to see why this Pokemon is so incredible. If we take a look at its best stat, it's going to be its attack stat at 251, ranking out at 14th. Its overall rank is 4th in the game. So why would you want to have a Tyranitar? Well, first things first, it's going to be because of its incredible moveset. If you want the best Dark-type attacker, you're going to want to go with Tyranitar with a Bite Crunch. And now, because of the Community Day exclusive move, Smackdown, Tyranitar officially has a double Rock-type moveset as well, making it the best Rock-type attacker. So this Pokemon is absolutely incredible. Yes, you would not be doing a shiny to be able to get this, but it's going to be something that I think people are more than likely going to be willing to trade, or to be able to trade something like this for another legacy move. So not just what you would want to trade for, this could actually be a good trade bargain as well. I wanted to put Tyranitar on this list because it's definitely one of the most well-rounded Pokemon. So that concludes this list. I do have a question of the day for you. If there is any Pokemon that I missed that you would want to trade for that's not a shiny, that's not a legendary, or a regional, I guess, for Pokemon you don't have, go ahead and leave it in the comments section below. I would love to see what other Pokemon I missed from this list. If you did enjoy this type of content, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.